Good morning, y'all. This is Monica, and I am the Natural Hair Eclectic. It's early on Tuesday morning, and I had some braids in, and I keep alternating between putting them in and then taking them down and wearing a braid out. As I was taking them down this morning, I was thinking, this is something that people always ask me about that you might be interested in seeing. So just before I finish the last two, I'm just recording this video really quickly to show you how I do it. Now, the best way to get the most defined twist out, it starts with how you set the braids itself. The more definition you want, if you want a real crinkly, more curly, more defined look, then I would suggest wet setting your hair with a curl cream or a curl mousse like that. And then, of course, you're just going to let that dry. And then once it dries, you can follow these tips to see how you take it down. You don't have to wet set it. Most of the times I don't. But even if you just use a good curl cream or, a good, braid out or twist out cream, even on dry hair, you'll still get a good defined look. And sometimes you don't even need to use any product whatsoever. If you kind of know what you're doing, you can still get a defined look, which you know what it's like when you've had braids in your hair for a long time and you finally take it down. You're still going to get that look regardless. Key component is using a good oil for your hair. And I would use an oil that's known to be good for hair. Of course, I'm always going to use coconut oil, but you could use extra virgin olive oil. You could use castor oil. If you have a store blend that you trust, you can use that as well. Your hair is going to give your hair shine when you take it down, but more importantly, it's going to lubricate the strands, making them easier to separate without getting any frizz or getting any tangling as you take it down. And the key is to just unwind the braid. The braid consists of it's a stitch where you're weaving one the outside strands over the middle strands to form the stitch, and you have that little indentation as you go along that makes that braided look right. So we just want to separate it from one cohesive braid back into 3 individual strands, but we don't want to manipulate the hair any more than that until we get it loose, right? But we also want to be able to unwind the braid, unravel the braid, more easily. And that's what the oil is going to help us to do. I usually will oil the parts in my scalp, and I will rub some oil onto the braid itself, and I will concentrate it on the ends of the braid. Of course, that's where it's going to be the most difficult to start the unraveling. And once you get a little further up the hair strand, it won't be that difficult. So anyway, let me show you how it's done. So what I'm going to do is just first I am going to get my oil, and I have some coconut oil here. I'm going to rub that in my hands. You can see that I've already done most of my hair, so I've already put oil on my scalp. I'm going to take that oil, if you have coconut oil and it's still in its hardened form, just rub that in your hands to liquefy it. And I'm going to rub that on my hair, on my braids, on the ends. You saw me rubbing it between my palms. I'm going to take the hair that I have already taken down and clip it aside so it's securely out of my way. Then I'm going to use the pads of my fingers, of my thumb and my forefinger, and I'm going to work with the pads because using the nails is going to cause too much frizz as well. And I'm just going to gently work the braid apart, just gently unravel it. I'm not sure if you can really see here, but I'm just putting the pads of my fingers into those indentations and just slowly easing the three strands apart. Just slowly easing them apart and letting the oil help me to detangle, if you want to call it that, each section so that I can take it apart. And as you see, as I get further up the hair strand, it is much easier to take apart. And I'm not getting a lot of frizz. I mean, there's some there. I didn't really use any products, but you can see for the most part, I have a pretty defined twist braid out. But anyway, I'm gonna move on to this final braid, and hopefully this is a little bit easier for you to see how I'm using the thumbs and the forefingers, the pads of my fingers, to gently separate that stitch from one braid back into three individual pieces, just reversing the braiding process, just unraveling the stitch. One thing you probably noticed as well is that here I don't take the full braid out. You certainly can, but I like my hair to be kind of back out of my face. So what I'll do is just leave the front part of the braid still braided. So and then just, you know, after you do that, I'm gonna unclip it, shake the hair to kind of get it, you know, loosened up, and I'm going to manipulate it as least as possible. And you see that when I am working through the hair, I'm just using the pads of my finger and gently moving it around. I'm not manipulating the strands too much because I don't want to cause it to frizz. The oil is going to be a natural protective barrier on my hair, a natural sealant that's going to help to protect it from the elements and moisture, and it's going to give it some shine, and I'm good to go. And so for those who always ask me, how do I get such pretty braid outs? That's how I do it. If you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, please leave them down below in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please make sure that you like this video, you share and subscribe, and I'll catch up to y'all later. Until next time, bye y'all.